gravel spits against the wheel wells like a hail of bullets in the midnight air. I can see the silhouette of the grain elevator looming like a giant over the valley. The scent of wild honeysuckle is thick enough to choke a man who forgot to smell. I'm idling at the four-way stop where the town ends and the regrets begin. Pressure is building in my chest like the steam in an old locomotive boiler. I can feel the ghost of my younger self hitchhiking on the shoulder of the road. The shadows of the past are reaching out to grab the chrome on my bumper. Stars are burning holes in the velvet sky above the place I used to call home. A tattered flag snaps in the wind outside the VFW where we danced our first slow song. Memories are heavy as the iron gates on a cemetery hill under the pale moon. There's a hollow echo in the valley, a sound just like the name I used to whisper. Her ring and a white fence, but I gave her a cloud of dust and a tail light. Found out too late that the city lights are just a neon light toward a lonely man. I sold the family legacy for a paycheck that burned through my pockets in a week. Now I'm looking at the weeds growing through the cracks of the life I should have lived. I ain't the man who left and I ain't the man who stayed, just a drifter in the middle. Forgive me for the silence, forgive me for the distance and the bridge I set on fire. I'm standing on the ashes now, finally breathing without the weight of the world. The wind is cooling down as I turn the radio off and listen to the crickets sing. Tomorrow is a different state, but tonight I'm just a man who came back to say sorry. Let the dust settle on the tracks I left behind on this long winding
Blinking yellow light at the crossroads looks like a dying heartbeat in the fog. I'm passing the diner where the neon sign is missing the R and the E tonight. My tires are humming a funeral march on the bridge over the muddy creek. I can see the ripple of the water catching the pale light of a lonesome moon. Dashboard lights are a dim green glow reflected in the fear in my tired eyes. I'm holding my breath as I pass the lane that leads to her daddy's farmhouse. Every turn of the engine feels like a clock ticking down to an inevitable end. Wildfire smoke is drifting down from the hills where we used to hunt for treasure. The scent of her soul still haunts the upholstery of this old bench seat. Rusty chains are clanking on the swing set in the park where we carved our vows. 1,000 stories are written in the dirt of these back roads I tried to forget. Spent a decade chasing the shadow while the real sun was setting right behind me. I let the bottle speak for me when I should have used my own damn voice to stay. Now the porch light is off at her place, and there's a strange car parked in the drive. That's the price you pay for leaving a heart out in the cold for too many winters. I'm shouting at the wind, cause the wind is the only thing that will listen to me now. I was wrong to think that distance could ever cure the sickness of a restless spirit. I'm dropping my guard and letting the truth cut through the armor I built around my heart. The road ahead is dark, but my mind is clearer than it's been in a dozen years. I'll take a long way out of town and leave the ghosts to their peaceful slumber. It's a quiet kind of mercy to know that life goes on, even when you aren't there. That won't stop screaming. Fluorescent lights flicker like a dying heartbeat in this hall. My hands are stained with grease and 30 years of empty promises, counting down the seconds until the whistle blows for the last time. Every cup of coffee tastes like the dirt under my fingernails. The foreman's shadow is a weight I can no longer carry on my back. The keys are jingling like a choir in my denim pocket. The mercury is rising and the pressure's about to blow. I can feel the electricity sparking in the soles of my boots. I'm chasing the horizon where the blacktop meets the setting sun. There's a world out there that doesn't smell like diesel and regret. I'm trading this cubicle for a kingdom made of wind and gravel, watching the city lights shrink into the darkness of the past. I didn't even wait for the paycheck sitting on the foreman's desk. I threw my badge in the gravel, let the engine roar to life. The rust on my old Ford is the only metal I've earned in this town. Tearing out of the parking lot before the shame could catch my taillights. Goodbye to the main street that only leads to the graveyard. The throttle's open wide and the air's finally smelling sweet. No more punching the clock for a life I never wanted to own. The lines on the road are the only laws I'm following tonight, breaking every chain that tried to keep me anchored to the floor. I remember the kid who used to dream of mountains and the sea. He's been hiding under this hard hat for way too many seasons. But the fire ain't out, it was just waiting for a little bit of oxygen. Looking in the mirror and seeing a man I finally recognize.
testimony, finding my salvation in the blur of the passing interstate signs. Just me in the open road, stretching out in the great unknown. The sunrise is waiting somewhere past the next county line. I'm gone, free at last. The weight of the badge, there's a bullet hole in the mirror, right where my reflection used to be. The dust on the bar top is the only thing that stays for free. I've been driving this highway since the stars went cold and gray, looking for a piece of ground where I don't have to pray. The wind through the rafters sounds like a choir of the damned. The glass is sweating and the ice is turning into tears. I'm counting the minutes, but I'm losing track of the years. The silence is a hammer hitting a nail into my soul. I'm losing my grip on the only thing I can control. Carry the burden of the bones buried in the desert sand. A lonely man's heart is a barren and a broken land. The whiskey don't bite as hard as the memory of her face. I'm searching for a mercy that I know I can't ever replace. I wear this tin star, but it's tarnished and covered in shame, because I didn't find the killer, I just gave them a different name. I let an innocent man swing while I pocketed the judge's bribe. Now I'm the only witness left to the truth I tried to hide. A badge in my pocket is burning a hole through my skin. The road ahead is a black ribbon winding through the night. Every headlight passing by is a searchlight for my life. I built this cage out of secrets and locked myself inside. There's no place in this valley where a guilty man can hide. I trade my tomorrow for a single hour of being clean, but the devil is a creditor who's always being mean. I'm confessing to the bottle because the bottle doesn't judge. I'm drowning in the middle of a lifelong bitter grudge. The lights are flickering and the tavern is closing its eyes. I can hear the hounds barking under the indigo skies. Maybe the morning will find me at the bottom of the well. I'm leaving my tab open on the doorstep of hell. Spitting watermelon seeds on the back of your porch. We were the kings of the county holding the torch, tracing maps in the dirt with a broken stick, thinking that the bond we had would always stick. Thick as the humidity in a Georgia July, two kids convinced that we'd never say goodbye. The distance isn't measured in the miles on the road, it's the silence that settles under the heavy load. We traded our dreams for the bills and the pride, with nowhere left for the young hearts to hide. The beautiful tragedy of becoming someone new. Now your house is filled with voices I've never met, and my life is a gamble with a mountain debt. You speak of the harvest and the price of the grain, I talk of the city and the weight of the rain. The laughter we shared is a muffled old sound, lost in the noise of the world spinning round. Time is a thief that doesn't leave a single trace, except for the lines etched across a weary face. We're just two ships that passed in the morning light, losing our bearings in the middle of the night. Wisdom comes at a cost I didn't want to pay. Bottle and a dusty old frame, searching for the boy who shared my last name. It's okay that we're different now, even if I don't remember how to bridge the gap between us. Spit bleeding for a man who forgot my name. The factory whistle sounds like a funeral march for my youth. I sing the sunrise through a dirty window for far too long. The rust on the gate is the only thing growing in this dead valley. My dreams were gathering dust in the corner of a damp basement, walking the line until I realized the line was a circle. I got a suitcase full of nothing and a heart full of lightning. The engine is singing a hymn about the end of the world. I can feel the gravity losing its grip on my restless bones. I'm far past the fences where the cattle stare at the moon. The speedometer is the only truth I need to believe in right now. Trading the safety of the cave for the danger of the open road. I'm just grabbed the jacket off the hook, left my resignation letter on the kitchen table like a final prayer. The gravel crunched under my tires like the sound of a jail door opening. By the time they notice I'm gone, I'll be 2 states away. The city lights are fading into the purple haze of the midnight sky. The night is a wide open ocean, and I'm finally learning to sail. Every mile is a brick I'm pulling out of the wall of this town. I'm finding the melody in the chaos of the rushing wind. No more shadows on the wall, just the girl with the dashboard light. And I don't feel the sting of the past. I feel the triumph of the escape and the weight of the new world. That I was born for the motion, not the stillness of the assembly line. Finally breathing the air that wasn't recycled by a There's a glory in the motion that justifies the risk of the fall. I'm chasing the ghost of the legends who never played by the rules. The highway is a ribbon that's tying my future to the stars. I'm the master of the miles and the king of the midnight run, heading for the borderline where the new life finally begins. The engine is a steady heartbeat in the silence of the desert. I'm free on my way home. 7,000 mornings say 7,000 mornings. I was trying to write a goodbye that sounded like an invitation to stay, but the words wouldn't come 'cause the truth was too heavy for the paper. You were moving toward the city, and I was rooted in the red clay soil. We shared a life like a book that we both forgot to keep reading, until we realized the last chapter had already been written in the silence. The pressure of the onset is cracking the windows of this house, and the ticking of the grandfather clock sounds like a final warning. Love didn't break under the pressure, it just evaporated like morning mist, leaving us with a geography that no map could ever truly explain. I watched you pack your heart into a box and tape it shut for good, while I stood in the doorway with 1,000 weights stuck in my throat. Now the distance is a canyon where my voice just echoes back to me. I looked in the mirror, miles of silence in a wind that smells like rain and empty promises. I found a single earring in the couch cushions like a silver tear. Every time the phone rings, I hope it's a wrong number or a ghost, because the truth of your absence is harder to swallow than cheap whiskey. We grew apart like two trees, searching for different patches of sun, until our roots were the only things keeping us from moving on. The air feels thick with the weight of the letters I never mailed, and the horizon is looking more like a wall than a doorway today. Heartbreak isn't always a storm, sometimes it is just a drought. Watching the person you love become a stranger in a different zip code. I gave you my hand, but I never gave you a reason to stay put. Now the highway is singing a song that I don't know the words to, and the distance is a thief that stole the warmth from my bed. I spent my words on the harvest while your heart was starving for a sign, thinking that provided meant more than just being there to listen. I let my ego drive the truck while you were walking in the ditch, blaming the miles when I should have been blaming my own stubborn feet. It wasn't your departure that broke us, it was my long-term stay in a version of myself that didn't have any room for your needs. I'm stripping back the layers of the man I thought I had to be, revealing a vulnerability that I've hidden for 20 long years.
It's honest and it's ugly, but it's the only truth I have left. I am changing for the better, even if it's too late for you to see. The morning fog is lifting and the road ahead looks clear and cold. I'll keep walking forward even if I'm walking into the wind. There is a peace in knowing that you're finally chasing your light. I'll find my own way home through the quiet you left behind.
Echoes of the playground under the flickering porch light. We felt like giants in the middle of the night. A handshake was a contract that couldn't be broken. Back when the truth didn't need to be spoken. I knew your secrets and you knew all of mine. Walking together on a thin straight line. The seasons keep changing while we stay the same, but the spark in our friendship is a dying flame. I'm reaching for someone who isn't there anymore, watching the tide pull away from the shore. A slow motion parting of two kindred hearts. Now you talk about politics and interest rates, while I'm still worrying about the closing gates. You found a religion that I can't understand, and I've got a life that didn't go as I planned. We're polite at the funerals and the weddings we attend, but I know that I've lost my very best friend. It's funny how time makes a hero a ghost and takes away the things that you needed the most. We're just two branches on a dying old tree, trying to remember how it used to be when the world was as small as a yard. I'll keep the memories in a box on the shelf and try to find a way to be okay with myself. Safe travels on the road you've paved, for all the moments that we never saved. Just a quiet sigh.
Neon sign outside is bleeding in red onto the jagged gravel. I watch the ceiling fan spin like a slow motion gallows. Every sip of this cheap bourbon tastes like a promise I broke. My hands are shaking under the weight of words I never spoke.
stopped ticking back in '79. I'm just a ghost sitting here, waiting for the end of the line. The jukebox is humming a tune that sounds like a warning. The air gets heavy with the scent of a storm coming in. Oh, the shadows are growing long, and they're calling out my name. A symphony of regret played on a rusted steel string. There ain't enough water in the well to wash these stains away. The moonlight is a witness to the debt I could never repay. You think I'm just a drifter, running from a broken heart, but I was the one who set the match to the family farm. I watched the smoke climb high while I drove toward the state line, leaving my brother to answer for a crime that was purely mine. The gold in my pocket feels heavier than the lead in my chest. The darkness is a blanket that smothers the flickering light. I hear the echoes of sirens screaming through the hollow pine. Justice is a slow-moving train that finally caught the track. There's a hole in my spirit where the mercy used to stack. I'm tired of the running and the lying and the constant fear. I've lived 1,000 lives, but I've never truly been here. God, if you're listening, just turn your head for a second. I'm ready to face the hell that I've spent years beckoning. The bartender's wiping the counter with a cloth made of ghosts. I reach for my keys, but I know I've reached the end of the road. One more glass before the sun forgets to rise again. The door is creaking open now, and the wind begins to howl.
To build a mountain of my own. This factory floor is a conveyor belt to an early grave. My father died with a wrench in his hand and a dead in his chest. I'm walking through the steam like a man possessed by a bitter ghost. Every bolt I tighten feels like a nail in the coffin of my dreams. The same old stories are told over the same lukewarm lunch. The tank is full and the paper map is burned to ashes. My heart is a piston hitting 6,000 revolutions per minute. The didn't know I was in. Trading the industrial grade for the gold of a western sunset. I'm a hurricane of dust, leaving the struggle in the rear view. I left the engine idling while I walked back to the front office. Dropped my tool belt on the floor and didn't say a single word. The silence of the parking lot was the loudest thing I've ever heard. Then I slammed the door and let the gravel fly toward the fence. I'm leaving the shadow of the smokestack for the heat of the road. Every bridge I cross is a bridge I'm burning behind my back. The radio is playing a song that sounds like the first day of spring. I've got the wind for a compass and the stars for a master plan. Nothing can stop the momentum of a man who's finally broken free. I used to think the world ended at the edge of the county limit, but the asphalt is singing a different tune. About the miles ahead, I'm shedding the skin of the labor and becoming the traveler, triumphant and tired, but more alive than I've ever been. Of the hardest chapter I ever wrote, moving toward the morning with the pedal pressed to the iron. Gone into the light, never looking back. Through the floorboards like a choir of forgotten sins. I'm sitting where the sidewalk ends and the wilderness begins. The label on the bottle is the only map I'm following tonight. Hiding in the darkness because I can't stand the light. My reflection in the window is a man I don't recognize. The ribbon thumping of my heart is like a muffled drum. I'm waiting for the reckoning that I know is bound to come. The shadows are stretching their fingers across the dusty floor. I can hear the sound of someone knocking at the cellar door. It's a long walk home when you've burned every single bridge. said, you see, a man who's lonely and looking for a bit of peace, but I'm the one who provided the trigger sweet release. It wasn't an accident and it wasn't a twist, a cruel fate. I planned the whole thing out behind the garden gate. I'm the wolf in the sheep's clothing that the shepherd never found. The silence in this room is the loudest thing I've ever heard. I'm choking on the weight of every single wicked word. The highway's a snake, it's waiting for me to arrive. I'm the only person left who is barely even alive. Forgive me for the path that I chose to walk alone. I've turned my heart of flesh into a heavy heart of stone. I'm reaching for the bottom, but the floor is falling away. I'm a dying ember at the end of a very long day. The clock is striking midnight and the tavern starts to fade. I'm paying for the choices that I've already made. The key is in the ignition, but the engine won't turn. I'm just waiting for the world to finally start to burn. Is the only conversation I've had in years. My reflection in the diner window looks like a stranger I hate. The town square is a circle that never lets anyone leave the middle. I'm tired of the dust and the talk about the weather and the crops. The heavy doors of the mill are closing on the man I used to be, working for a pittance and dying for a dream that wasn't mine. The needle is moving and the shadows are starting to stretch. I've got enough fire in my belly to light up the whole interstate. Everything I own is sitting in the seat right next to me. I'm breaking the silence with a roar that can be heard for miles. The mountains are calling me like a mother I never quite knew, leaving the echoes of the hammer behind for the song. Change to make my move into the light. Park the truck at the cliffside and watch the mill smoke rise. Then I turned the wheel toward the west and didn't look back once. The chains of the past are snapping with every gear I shift. I'm a shadow in the moonlight, vanishing into the great wide open. I'm a ghost in the rear view, vanishing into the purple haze. The highway is a ribbon that's tied my future to the stars. No more ceilings or walls, just the is a distant memory. The road goes on forever and the journey never has to end. Golden skies, I'm finally home. I'm finally home.
Spitting watermelon seeds off the back of your porch. We were the kings of the county, holding the torch, tracing maps in the dirt with a broken stick, thinking that the bond we had would always stick. Thick as the humidity in a Georgia July. Two kids convinced that we'd never say goodbye. The distance isn't measured in the miles on the road. It's the silence that settles under the heavy load. We traded our dreams for the bills and the pride. Nowhere left for the young hearts to hide. A beautiful tragedy of becoming someone new. Now your house is filled with voices I've never met. My life is a gamble with a mounting debt. You speak of the harvest and the price of the grain. I talk of the city and the weight of the rain. The laughter we shared is a muffled old sound, lost in the noise of the world spinning round. Time is a thief that doesn't leave a single trace, except for the lines etched across a weary face. We're just two ships passed in the morning light, losing our bearings in the middle of the night. Wisdom comes at a cost I didn't want to pay. Half-empty bottle and a dusty old frame, searching for the boy who shared my last name. It's okay that we're different now, even if I don't remember how. To bridge the gap between us.
Rust on the gate, guitar swinging, hanging by a single frayed thread. Remember how we jumped into the clover bed. We shared a pack of gum and a secret oath, back when this small town was big enough for both. You had the blueprint and I had the spark, running till the street lights chased away the dark. Life is a river that carves out its own jagged way. The things we didn't mention are the things we can't see. We looked at the horizon and saw two different skies. Now there's a stranger looking through.
my oldest friend's eyes. The bridge we burned was made of time instead of wood. You settled down with a mortgage and a steady hand. I took the highway searching for the promised land. The car we shared last Christmas felt like a chore, talking about the weather through a locked iron door. Your knuckles are calloused while my soul is just tired. Two different paths that the universe required. Maybe growing up is just learning how to let go of the people we promised we'd always know. The mirror shows a man I barely recognize at all, standing in the shadow of a rising garden wall. It's not that we failed, it's just that we grew. I'll leave a light on for the ghost of you, a quiet nod to the brothers we used to be, before the world stole you away from me. Just a whisper in the pines, walking separate lines.